What's up, everybody? It's DJ Unprotected, and Happy New Year. It is finally 2021. Goodbye, 2020, and good riddance, right? No one's trying to put blame here on anything, right? But honestly, 2020 was one of those years just filled with tons of WTF moments. I mean, all of the time. And it all started obviously with the COVID situation. And man, we lost so many actors and professionals that we knew and followed. I mean, when Kobe Bryant died in February, it was like, whoa. And then after that, then COVID hit and just so many things happened. So it's good to know that we can kind of put this to bed and hopefully start something new, something great, something prosperous, right? But as we roll into that, I do want to say, well, actually, don't let me get ahead of myself, okay? And I'm not gonna. I know I'm excited, all right? But listen, you are tuned in to The Output. This is a podcast about fashion, pop culture, music, and some other goodies to enhance your day. And it's definitely not a podcast about that new year, new me bullshit. We are not playing that game, but it's nice to see that those posts haven't happened as of yet. Now, those used to be a big meme several years ago, and people would make fun of you if you posted that new year, new me BS. Because why? Thought process behind all this. And why does it take a new year to develop a better you? Okay. But listen, this episode, now I am always going to bring something new, entertaining, okay? So this week we've got something new to satisfy your ears, okay, and spice up the show to avoid breaking radio's number one rule, silence. So every time I take a drink, you'll hear this. Pretty classy, right? So as we get this started, I want to give a cheers to you guys as we cruise in to 2021, very positive and all that, right? So cheers to everybody. If you're watching or listening, just know I'm raising a glass for you. All positive things going down. That's how we're focusing this. So focusing this time. I promise this is the first drink I've had, and I will get my words right. I'm going to correct them on the fly, okay? So each week on this show, as you guys know, I offer an intriguing question. And this week's intriguing question directly relates to the whole New Year's resolution concept. Now, here's the question, right? I want you guys to pay attention, hear me out on this one. Do you think that challenges improve a person's character? I think it's a good question, because do people just go through things because they just want to feel better about themselves, or does it improve how they are as an individual to them, to those around them? You know what I'm saying? So the benefits of challenges, does it improve somebody's character? So let's just talk about some things that are challenging, like in life, right? Change is challenging, whether that's work, living situations, right? That can be challenging. New things are challenging. New diets, maybe, a new route on the way to work, okay, or doing a new project, right? Those are challenging. Routines are challenging, like changing something up where you're waking up earlier in the morning to do things that may benefit you or your family. And there's just a whole bunch about it, like change, I think, can be challenging all the time, right? But as if 2020 wasn't challenging enough, there will definitely be plenty of people creating more challenges for themselves. And this is something that, right? So before we roll into this episode, real quick, if you have been coming back, I want to say thank you for being a listener and supporting this podcast. And if this is your first time coming to the show, I want to ask you, hey, please hit that like, that follow, that subscribe button, whatever you can do to support the show. I hope to bring you back constantly, and I will always be releasing episodes every week. So you don't want to miss out on that, because the entertainment on this show is constantly evolving, and as things start to get better, we will bring more guests back into the studio, and to also have that, chance to have the conversations 101 instead of virtually. Right, so we're going to be adapting and moving forward. So I do appreciate y'all coming back, If you've, from listening before and being a repeat listener, man, that's awesome. You guys are great. If you're new, just subscribe so you can catch us every week. Now, another quick favor, if you have an extra 3 seconds to rate this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to, if there is an option to hit a thumbs up, to hit a heart, to rate it some stars, I would really appreciate that, because we're trying to grow and expand the show. And just a little educational moment. It's all about kind of the algorithm and feeding that on these platforms. So as shows and like this type of show, as listeners pop in, as listeners hit the like button, then it gives them more of a chance that it could be suggested to other podcast listeners who may have not have known about the show. So anything you could do, I really appreciate it. But we've got a lot of big things coming up in this next year, and I want to share them with you. And most importantly, we're going to definitely do some audience appreciation stuff. So you guys got a chance to win, because you're winning with me already. So we want to show that love back to you. Okay, so wherever you listen, I promise we're there. And then just show me some love. Let's start 2021 with some appreciation. And I'm not trying to be that annoying dude on the show who's saying, hey guys, help me out. But I'm just saying, hook it up. All right, I really appreciate it. Anything that you can do, if you share it with a friend. That's always appreciated too. Sharing is caring. Start 2021 being positive. So this show, here we are, episode 28. Man, that's so cool. And we are starting a new year, and that's dope. But I've got some other awesome news to present to you guys. So, listening to the show, and if you're new to this, man, my fantasy football season has been an absolute trip. Started out super high, as in like I was a number 2 round draft pick, and I ended up going with Saquon Barkley. Got hurt in the beginning of the season, and then I had a whole bunch of hiccups from then on. Like, honestly, was not a high-scoring team. We're talking about getting scores somewhere around like maybe the 120s, and somehow I ended up squeaking by with some W's. Okay, so when I went into the playoffs, I was nervous because the people that I was going up against had already beat me this season, and it was usually like 160, 170 points to like my 120, 130. So as positive as I was trying to be and making what moves I had to towards the end of the season, I didn't know how it would pan out. First round of the playoffs, dude, I did it. Like, I ended up beating the best dude in my division, and he was like a top scorer all year. I mean, his points for was, I think, just around 2,000, whereas or 1,800. Mine was like maybe 1,600. So now points for was not very high. As I said, I did not, I wasn't slaying those games that I won, but I ended up winning, right? I guess he had a bad week. I ended up winning. Round 2, was not even sure about it, because now I was playing the division leader from the other division. So, and he was killing it all season. And yeah, so I didn't know what to expect, but man, I ended up really having a great week and ended up winning. Was unexpected. Absolutely. I think I had 180 something points. That was the highest I've scored. It was great. I was like, whoa, dude, this is awesome. And then so went into the championship round. Now I had a solid team. Lineup was looking good. You know what I'm saying? My bench was lame, but the bench can be lame because they're not playing. But everyone else was good to go. Didn't have any questionable players. And so I was like, cool, we're going to roll into this championship game with a good attitude. We're going to do this, But, man, my opponent, named Shanda, she's in our league. If there's any 2 cool people to make it into the championship, it would be me and her, because everyone else is like football buffs and, you know what I'm saying? Like, they really follow it and all the players, and I'm just not like that into it. I'm not a stat major. I don't know how everyone performed last year, vice this year, and without a preseason, dude, it was all a wash. Was going off the stats. But if it's me and her, that was like the coolest shit. The underdogs were in the championship. Now, she ended up winning. I came in second. Still happy about becoming in second, because I get my buy-ins for the next few seasons. So that was good. Anytime you win money back. That's a good deal, man. It was awesome. And so she won. What happened was she had Mike Evans, from Tampa Bay, and that dude went ham. Okay, Brady went ham last week. It was crazy. So the dude had 40-something points, if he didn't get the 40 points, I probably would have won because I was only lost by like around 20. So if he would have just scored a typical game, it probably would have been a little different. And, obviously she talked shit on our Facebook pages and all that, but that's what it's all about, right? And it was funny though, because she's quiet all season. And then like when she wins her matches, she would, just post that. But anyway, it was good. Super excited that I won. And I think that's dope. You know what I'm saying? I've never went this far in 4 years of doing fantasy football with a couple different leagues. I really like the league I'm in now. A lot of fun people that I used to work with. And some of them I see, like, it's just a fun crowd. So the fact to come into second, like, that's so cool, man. So yeah, so that was a win. That was a dub, okay? So you got to count your blessings as they come through, right? But not all the blessings that we've seen, obviously, in 2020. There's been some crazy stuff that went down, obviously, not just COVID and, definitely not just COVID or anything like that. I think one of my cameras just died. Oh, no, it's just silly. And I don't know why it keeps turning off. I guess I'm going to have to change that. Look, all right, so if you're watching on YouTube, we've got multiple cameras now set up to record this here in the studio, which is going to make it a lot of fun. And yeah, and so we'll have like multiple cameras and stuff going on later. This is just upsetting that it gave me the middle finger. So, oh man, that's how things go when you're figuring things out. See, like these videos now, it's all jacked up. It's all jacked up. Not good. You know what? I'm going to talk and try to fix this really quick because this is going to make video editing a bitch if I don't get it right. And so now you guys hopefully will watch the YouTube channel because I'm like, okay, so we're good. All right, the cameras are back. I hope, well, it's probably going to end up dying again, but it is what it is. I guess I'm going to have to change the settings. That's why it turned off, not because the battery died. Dude, I'm such a noob, right? Okay, you guys no, this is me in my music studio. I know what's going on with audio pretty well, and I've learned some lessons along the way. Obviously, been recording audio for 12 years almost. So I get that. The video stuff is new to me, but I'm trying to change it up and make it look more professional and interesting with the multiple camera setups. So it just takes some time. I got a new device this week, and it's really cool. You can connect multiple cameras, and the computer, whatever, only sees it as one device, which is awesome. So it makes it really easy. It's one webcam, but you're not using webcams. You're using a GoPro and a Sony camcorder. That's what I've got. So, whatever, spicing up the setup. So we got technical difficulties on the visuals, and I'm just going to talk myself through it to you guys who don't want to watch the videos, but we're going to get through this together. Okay, so back on track, right? What I want to talk about now, some of the creepiness of 2020 is 2020 bugs, murder hornets. Okay, there's no introduction to those guys, okay? They are just flying assholes. If you look at wasps and hornets, all right, the things that would they benefit to the environment? Okay, maybe some wasps kill things you got the tarantula hawk or whatever, or tarantula wasp, and they kill bad spiders. I get that. But the majority of them are just destructive. You know what I'm saying? They eat wood to create the paper to make their nests. So they just tear up sidings of houses and whatever. But hornets are just aggressive. They are just mean buttheads flying in the air and just want to sting dogs, kids, anybody who gets in their way. There's not even a thought of, okay, you're provoking me, whatever, now I'm mad. These things are just mad no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You get honeybees or bumblebees, just do their thing, pollinate, fly around. You know what I'm saying? Honeybees obviously make honey, which is sweet deliciousness, right? But if they're comfortable and you're not fucking with them, they're just hey man, what's up? They're not going to attack you. because they're not like deep down rooted as just being mean all the time. Like they will defend their spot absolutely, but they're not going to come through and kill and come through and like just annihilate everyone. So, you know, it's something worth discussing, right? So I don't know what the purpose of hornets is. Like I've tried to look into it. Like I always do research on them, on any type of bug that I just feel like I'm about to go annihilate, like wasps and hornets. I read about them to be like, okay, what am I about to kill with, you know, some nerve agent spray later on, you know? And I've always been like, what the hell? But you had these murder hornets who just do damage to like honeybee farms and whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like they just go through and just annihilate things for what? For nothing. Now it's pretty cool that bees can kill these hornets by basically overheating them. So bees can will climb on top of a hornet, you know, as long as they're not getting stung or getting eaten. Some of the bees sacrifice themselves to like crowd over the hornet, but because of the temperature of their body fluttering all their wings or whatever, it gets too hot and it overheats and kills the hornet. So I think that's pretty cool. They work together to kill these things that really don't have a purpose. Like if you know of a purpose of a hornet, let me know. But other than that, they just bring pain. You know what I'm saying? Complete assholes coming through and ruining picnics and all that other good stuff. Man, get out of here. Okay, another one. Zombie cicada. So now these are all bugs that came up and like made the news as being like, what WTF, you know what I'm saying? Like in 2020. So next one is zombie cicadas. Now, this one's kind of cool because they are a cicada that has been infected with a parasitic psychedelic fungus called Massospora, right? But it basically ends up creating this bug that has rotting bodies, is still moving, but is engaged in like hypersexual practices, and they are, because of the psychedelic and this fungus messing with their brain, they don't operate on the normal wavelength that a healthy cicada would operate on. So what do you end up getting? You get ones that fly more often, ones that stay up longer, right? Or more awake, you know what I'm saying, never rest. And they're probably more annoying than your normal cicada. Now, I had one in my backyard, and I was like, oh my goodness, this thing will not shut up. And it was around the springtime, early summer, so like wasn't going to work all the time because of you know, being on a COVID, you know, coronavirus schedule for work and all of that. But this one was like really causing me issues of not shutting up when I was hanging outside smoking a cigar. Like it was just loud and annoying. And so now, can you imagine like having one that's like totally messed up, tripping out because some fungus is growing through its mind and it won't shut up. It's flying around all the time and it's got a rotting carcass. like that beetle is just rotting inside. It's just crazy. Like, man, that's insane. Like, but you know, that like fungus stuff is wild. You know, I saw a video about ants. I think it was in the rainforest or whatnot. So this fungus would basically, if an ant walked across this fungus, it would end up penetrating the ant's system and brain, and then the fungus would grow like outside the corpse of that bug. And if any of the other ants realized that an ant had walked through it or was walking weird, they would carry its ass way away from their, you know what I mean, their nest or whatever ants have, like, I don't know, whatever you call it. But yeah, so that's wild, right? Like, you know, that would be, imagine if that happened to us. Like all of a sudden you like you swam in the wrong pond or lake, and now you've got this fungus that starts growing through your head and face, and you act all weird, and like everyone just pushes. Like, isn't that nuts? Like, oh, thank goodness nothing like that impacts us. I mean, I know there's shows like Monster Inside of Me, but can you imagine? Hey, I went swimming in a pond this weekend because it was really hot and we were hanging out, and then like, dude, our buddy Joey like has just been kind of acting weird. His eyes are turning green, and then he's got this weird shit growing out of his ear, and now he's kind of like walks into walls, and like now he's just now he just crumbles, and I don't know, like we think he's possessed, but he's got weird shit growing out of his body, and it turns out it's a fungus that could be contagious. So don't go hang out with Joey no more. Like, dude, that's thank goodness it doesn't happen to us, because that sounds like some Stephen King type thing, or R.L. Stein, or somebody could make a mess up, or maybe even Rob Zombie would make something like that. You know what I mean? Like The Cabin in the Woods or whatever, The Red Cabin. You got to know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that one was pretty messed up too. But yeah, so zombie cicadas. Man, I really don't want to encounter one of those things because, well, they're probably all dead now because they're seasonal, but we can only hope. So the next weird thing on the list, okay, now this one's messed up. All right, I want to introduce you to a fluff ball that will make you itchy, brings on vomiting, swollen glands, and a fever, but it's cute and fluffy. Now, cute and fluffy, that makes you think you want to pet it, whether it's an inch or several pounds, you want to touch it. So, not this thing, and we are talking about the venomous Tribble-like caterpillars. They are cute but evil. Why was that a thing? And I think it was found in like Virginia or something this year. Like, why is that a thing? Can you imagine a kid seeing this fluff ball thing, like a little walking cousin it, and a kid's going to go over and be like, oh, check it out, and rub it, and all of a sudden they are just tore up? Like, that could be problematic. So I just like, man, that's so messed up. Like, and this type of thing that would bring a world of pain just opens up the idea like this is worse than gremlins. Like, then Gizmo, imagine Gizmo if he was mean. See, Gizmo was never mean. He just would get wet and create mean things. But, you know, like, could you imagine if Gizmo was mean? Dude, that would be so messed up. So, yeah, so that was 2020 bugs. Let's just hope that 2021 doesn't offer us, like, flying spiders. Okay, not the ones with the attached webs, but imagine ones with legs. 8 legs just floating through the air with wings. With 2, yeah, no thanks. Because I think, like, any type of bug that has, like, a lot of legs, like, can creep anybody out. Butterflies will creep some people out, you know, because they got a lot of legs, they have creepy faces, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, they look peaceful and friendly and cute wings, but they land on you, and you look at a butterfly's face, you're like, whoa, like, like what, you know? So, I don't know. Let's just hope. Okay, positive vibes, 2021, no creepy-ass bugs and things that just want to kill us and be zombies and weird, right? So let's talk about, okay, so New Year, and I made fun of anybody who says the New Year, new me bullshit, but it all ties into New Year's resolutions, and since we're on it, let's talk about some traditions and drinks, all right? So New Year's resolutions, I want to know what you guys got, and I want you to hit me up on Twitter, talk to me, let me know what you're thinking, because I'd be interested in knowing, like, do you have them, right? Me, personally, I don't have one. I don't have a New Year's resolution, and I don't know if I ever really did, because I aim to improve every day, and there's a little mantra that I like to use, and I write it in my journal in the morning, and then also in, like, my calendar for work, but it basically goes every day in every way, I am getting better and better. So that's my thing, but I guess, you know, if anyone's going to pick a time to make some changes, well, it might as well be when lots of other people are doing so, because you end up inevitably creating a world, an environment around you of accountability partners. So if you just try to do something like, you ever try to go on a diet in the middle of the year and like talk to coworkers or friends, nobody's really supporting you. You go on a diet around January, whether or not your friends are going on a diet, they're probably trying to do something new. And so now you've got like a natural support system. But, you know, our New Year's resolution's a silly thing. And hear me out on this. Like, this is not a judgmental perspective, because I'll offer a couple of perspectives here, but I think that New Year's resolutions are kind of a hoax. You know what I mean? Like, people should be willing to do some type of changes in their life, become their own hero any time of the year. That it shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't just happen when, oh, okay, new year, got to do new things, or now's my time to be on a diet. And then what happens is you get people in October, November putting things off until January, or middle of the year saying, you know what, I'm focusing on this, but in January, that's when I'm going to make my changes. And I think that, like, people should make their changes whenever that idea comes to them, you know? So that's why I don't, like, I think I'm kind of against it because people put things off to be like, okay, well, I'm going to get to that in January, or I've got 4 more weeks to be lazy, and then I'm going to be more active and stuff like that. And so there's different, I don't know, I think there's different attitudes towards that. Like they should be able to make changes, whatever. But I guess on a positive side, it offers an opportunity for anyone to consider that it could be time to make a change. So if it does bring benefit to people's lives, then I'm cool with it. But, the most important thing about any of this is no matter whether it's a resolution, it's a wish, a goal, no matter what it is, anything without action will just leave you towards feelings of disappointment. And that can happen. So that's why I think like there can be an issue sometimes with having, these resolution timelines and whatever, is because people get disappointed when it should be a consistent thing of taking action for growth to be better. Nobody should have to wait to start something to grow. And so that's why I think there's a downside. But if you're going to do it, no matter what it is, put it down, get an accountability partner, talk to a friend, tell people about your goals, and then get to work. You know what I mean? I say, be your own hero. For real. Absolutely got to be your own hero. Can't ever give up. But if you want to make those changes, I think it's time to do it. So, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And now it is the first day of the new year. So maybe today is the first day you start making the steps to get the body that you want. So I'm telling you right now, you got this. Write it down. Take some action on it. Don't be afraid. Failure will only come if you decide to give up or quit. But yeah, if you fail, that's 100% chance that your goals weren't going to be accomplished. Okay. And that's the only way to look at that. So if you're going to go for it, that's what I would say is make it happen. But shoot, if come January something, you learn some lessons along the way, or maybe February, like, okay, well, I know my goal was I wanted to lose weight, but in this timeline of trying to lose weight, I learned that like I probably need to give up sweets or readdress my diet. Like I've got an addiction to this thing. Well, you should be able to adapt and not say, okay, well, I'll fix that next year or later on. Like constant levels of improvement to get consistent growth. Now, that's how all of this works. But like I said, hey, you know what? If it's going to be positive, I really wish everybody the best. Just take action. If you write it down as a goal, you got to start taking action. All right? Not trying to be preachy, soapboxy. I'm imperfect. I work on myself all the time, but that's how all this stuff works. I read a lot of self-improvement books, and it is all about action, ideas and action. Write it down and get to work. So you guys got this. Be your own hero. I believe in you all day. All right. So some of the traditions around this time of year are always fun. I always like to seek other people's thoughts on what they do on New Year's. And I've heard funny things like playing video games upside down from the couch against the other family members to see who could compete the best, like something like Mario Kart being upside down, I guess would be challenging. Some people play card games, board games, and things like that. And so whatever it is, I think it's always interesting to find out what people do. Like I learned about the one where you eat 12 grapes right at midnight. It's a kind of like positive thoughts, positive vibes for each month. And so, but I don't know if I did it right because the person who told me like we went on a date and she told me about that as her tradition. And it may be like I don't know, like a Hispanic tradition. I'm not sure, but she told me about it. So ate 12 grapes in one shot and, it may have worked, may not have worked. I thought that was interesting. So my traditions, okay, one is always watch like Twilight Zone on New Year's Eve. Now, Sci-Fi Channel has this kind of Twilight Zone marathon. Starts like New Year's Day and rolls through like the day after. Okay, and it's really cool. Twilight Zone, like we're talking about the old ones with Rod Sterling. And man, they're just like, that dude was way ahead of his time. Like, love the thought process of like, man, they're total, they're not using a lot of special effects, but it's all just mind games. And it is really cool. So usually watch that. Obviously, there's like, popping some champagne. That usually happens. And then another one that we've got Well, I say we because, obviously, like my dad introduced me to this one, and it's something that I always loved doing as a kid, and it was banging pots together outside and screaming Happy New Year, like for all the neighbors to hear, and it's kind of like a fun celebratory moment. So, I would do that kind of in whatever, like even after I moved out, I would do that stuff, and it's just exciting. It's a fun thing. Now, some of my pots have the damage. They've got the scars of some New Year's where, yeah, I banged them together maybe a little harder than necessary, but I feel like the neighbors always appreciate it. And it was funny, I was talking to someone recently and I told them about my tradition, and they were laughing because they were like, yo, I was just talking to my mom about that, and she was saying we should bang pots together to just entertain all the neighbors. And, I think that's what it's about. Like, just go out there being exciting. Now here in San Antonio, Texas, we're not like, I guess it's within the area of the city limits, not supposed to be fireworks, but there's fireworks all over the place. And especially since we just had like rain yesterday, not that big of a deal. So, there are fireworks going off all the time. Like my neighbors were lighting shit up before. I don't know why they're not anymore. Maybe someone called the cops on them because they were launching some like big ones, like those ones that look like mortars, you know what I'm saying? Like, and go out of the chute. Well, these were pretty big, and I was like, damn, like those are loud, you know what I'm saying? And I went out and looked outside, and they were huge, almost like professional grade fireworks coming out of this dude's front yard. So I haven't heard any in like over an hour or two. So maybe they were just testing them out because it's, because I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. So maybe they were just like testing it out and then they'll go hard. But I was really trying to get the episode in because it might get picked up. Like, dude, they were loud. Okay. And I heard other people launching firecrackers. But so here in Texas, like everyone does the firework thing. I don't. And it's mainly like I'm in a cool cul-de-sac area. So I don't have to worry really. Like, I don't think we'd worry about any police action. But what I will say is that cleaning up fireworks is a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You go out there and lay off like, say 1,000 firecrackers. Well, you got to sweep all that up. The bottle rockets, the things that explode in the air. Like you got to sweep it up at least like in the vicinity of where you were at. You know what I mean? Because if you just leave this stuff all on the street, your neighbors are going to be like, dude, WTF. Man, it's a lot of cleanup the next day. If it's wet and whatever else. So like, yeah, I'm good, man. It's a hard pass for me unless we were like launching that stuff in a field. Then like probably make cleanup a little easier, But speaking of fireworks, funny story time was when I was in Denver, Colorado. Me and my buddy scored some fireworks, like those mortars, but they weren't very big out of those tubes. We scored a bunch of them, and we lived in an apartment right downtown across from Coors Field. And so we had a bunch of these. Like, I probably think we had like 12 or 15 cases of these fireworks. And so what we would do is like, obviously you're partying the weekend, we would go up to the parking garage and light them off and like hold them and launch them. And then we'd also do stuff like, man, sometimes we'd hold them out of the balcony and just aim up, and there was a warehouse next to the house that like wasn't used, and you would hold them and just like fire them off like at night, like late at night on Friday or Saturday, and hear people go, woo! But the best was, all right, so it was a weekend, it was a Saturday, and there was, like a lot of people parked in the street because it was a Rockies game. Like I said, I lived right across the street from where the Rockies played. And so the streets were crowded, right? Well, my buddy went to go light one off, and he lights it, and all of a sudden a car comes down the street. So this thing's lit, fuse is going, and he holds it down towards like my apartment door. We're on the balcony. And I'm like, dude, you gotta, and he's like, yeah, there's a car. And I'm like, man, you committed. Launch that motherfucker. And he holds it out. And because probably like when he turned the tube, the shit got stuck. And you just hear, foop. And like it didn't really shoot out. And then all of a sudden just kicks out and explodes like 8 feet away from us and just peppers all the vehicles with these like little smoke dots. You know what I mean? Like probably from where the things exploded. I mean, it didn't break any windows or anything. And we dove inside the house, and I was like, bro, we got to do lights out and get the fuck out of here. And it was just, it was just so funny because it was such like a peaceful, afternoon of us hanging out. And man, that happened, and it was just like, whoa, dude, like this was not, this was this was not a good situation. And fun times to reminisce about that, man. But fireworks are always fun. I mean, we lit them off, as a kid, Dad would get the hookup and we'd launch them off on New Year's. And that was always fun. Sometimes, not every year, but if we had some left over or he had the hookup, we'd definitely go hard. So New Year's is always fun. Especially when it comes to like the traditions, whether it's playing games, drinking, hanging out with friends. Last year I was sick. I didn't feel too well. So I was like kind of inside, and I think I was in bed before midnight. I was like one of the first times I was in bed, like I was out like 10:30. I was just in bed hoping to feel better the next day. And so that was rough. A couple years ago, just hung out at the house and then had a couple parties. But it's always fun, man, to hang out with people. And maybe next year will be a little different. But you know what? It still doesn't take away from enjoying, kind of what we got now. Count your blessings, right? Always got to count your blessings. So let's look at and talk about my insight on this week's intriguing question, and to remind all of you so that, hey, maybe you can bring this up to your family, your friends, your coworkers, spark the conversation, get to know people, do something other than small talk. But I think this one definitely can get some conversations going, or maybe spark some, enlighten somebody to be like, hey, I want to do something different. But here it is. Do you think that challenges improve a person's character? Now, my perspective on this, absolutely, okay? But the important thing about taking on challenges, or life just handing you challenges without you asking for them, it has to be internally driven. Anytime you go through something, it's changing that perspective of, hey, I'm gonna learn from this. And, it doesn't happen all the time. I honestly think that maybe growth or changing your character may take time. So you may go through something, say, 6 years ago, but your really character wasn't impacted till, like now. Could just take time for it to develop, or over a year or something. Challenges can last a long time. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, new changes are challenges. If you move, that's a challenge. A new boss, that's a challenge. So many variables in lives like bring on challenges. You want to make more money? Well, the new job is now a challenge. Okay, so I do think that they can improve a person's character, but it has to be internally driven. People have to want to find that change and learn about themselves and really be adaptive to be like, okay, what did I learn from this? I like Winston Churchill's attitude on challenges. He said it's an opportunity. Okay, don't view them as a challenge. I can't get through this, but an opportunity, which is to learn, to grow, to maybe figure new things out, maybe to come up with an idea to make something better, or come up with a new business proposal. Like, there's so many ways to really grow from challenges that occur in this life. And I can tell you personally that anytime I go through a challenge, I think that my character changes. I'm a verbal processor. I mean, obviously, I get on these podcasts and talk to myself for 40-something minutes, and it's not hard. I just have some notes in front of me, and then I just let whatever I want to say fly. But on the flip side, it's like, as a verbal processor, I talk to like my close friends about stuff I'm going through, looking for advice, looking for guidance, or just reiterating, like maybe seeing a perspective that I didn't have about, how I could be better, how I could improve myself, improve my character, So I do think it's important, but, people can go through a challenge and not recognize the challenge or growth that they needed. And they can just say, hey, I had a shitty boss and I'm glad I don't have to deal with him, and that's it. And they moved on, but they didn't look at how maybe through having a really tough boss made them humble, made them brought some humility in their life, made them realize they could do things they couldn't do. Maybe they went beyond the expectations that somebody thought of them. And I think that's when somebody's character can be improved. So it really just takes that like internal growth. And then obviously you got meditation, I think can really help people. But yeah, bottom line, challenges are good. We just have to approach them with a positive mind and just endure them and get through them. And yeah, it can definitely have a positive impact on people's character. And I think it's important to be humble throughout the process. You know, stay hungry, stay humble, because if you're not humble, you may come through a challenge and be cocky. Nobody respects that. Dude, don't come through cocky. Be confident, but don't be cocky, man, because any challenge can take anybody out the game. All right? So that's where we're at on that. I'm really interested in what you guys have to say. Hit me up on Twitter at DJ Unprotected. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about it. If you hit me up with a solid response, I'll bring it up on next week's episode, all right? Shout you out. So listen, guys, once again, Happy New Year's 2021. Whatever you want to do, make yourself better, make the people around you better. I say go for it. Believe in yourself. Start today. Whatever dreams you had, whatever goals you wanted, go for it now. It's no better time at all, okay? All we've got is time. So just make it happen, all right? It's a new year. It's exciting. Get off on the right foot, right? But always look to improve, to grow, and find the quality and happy things within this life, all right? That's my motivational speech to all of you. 2021, baby. So thank you again for tuning into The Output with me, DJ Unprotected. This podcast is presented by Aztec Nation. Now I invite you to check out another podcast from the company titled Unrestricted with Ryan Johnson. Season 3 is about to drop next week, so you can catch new episodes where he's interviewed some very successful people to get awesome perspectives on things. So you can catch it every Wednesday, all right? That's Unrestricted with Ryan Johnson, okay? So listen, I hope you're picking up what we're putting out. We got a lot to say. Tune in on your favorite streaming platform next week for a brand new episode. Have a great weekend. Start the new year off right. Happy New Year. We out.